Hello everyone! Today we are going to talk about John of Bohemia, who was more of a knight than a king. Stay tuned. Surprisingly, all of his life John neglected the crown for the sake of a sword and spear, leading the path of a true knight to bone and brain. A tireless adventurer, the winner of numerous tournaments, and even after having lost his sight, he did not change his lifestyle and fell with the glory at the Battle of Crécy at 1346. John was the elder son of Holy Roman Emperor Henry VII of Luxembourg and Princess Margaret Brabant. He was brought up at the French court, and when grown up spent a lot of time in France, making friends with the French king Philip VI, the same adventurer who dreamed of a crusade, but instead received the 100 Years' War. In 1410, John married the daughter of Wenceslav II, Eliška Przemyslowa, Elizabeth of Brabant, as a result of which he acquired the crown of Bohemia and in 1313 inherited the county of Luxembourg from his father. The Czechs, who did not really like the alien king, set him a number of conditions. He should not appoint foreigners to the government position, he should not have the rights to force the knights to go on campaigns outside the country, pledge to reduce the state burden, state tax, and so on. The young king signed all the conditions without bargaining and immediately forgot about them. Relying on the support of his father, the emperor, he began to rule his own way. In this regard, friendship with Czechs did not work out. In 1418 they revolted against John, demanding a strict fulfillment of his obligations. To preserve the throne, John had concluded the Mažytsky agreement with them. However, provincial Bohemia brought deep boredom to the young king, and he spent almost all of his time abroad, most often in France, returning to his kingdom only for another stack of money. His travels took him to Silesia, Poland, Lithuania, Tyrol, Northern Italy, and Papal Avignon. The brave, strong, and cheerful Night King was very popular in all of the courts of Europe. A stately, handsome man with a silky brown beard, long hair up to his shoulders, involuntarily attracted the mighty of his world, conquering hearts with innocence, graceful manners, and sparkling wit. In addition to the French king, his closest friends also included German Emperor Ludwig of Bavaria and Pope John XXII. John dressed according to the latest Burgundy fashion, in a tight dress made of multicolored fabric with a checkerboard trim and white sleeves hanging almost to the knees. The fame of a Luxembourgian's love affairs spread throughout Europe. Sometimes he cheated on some bourgeois, sometimes he climbed on the middle of the night to the window of some girls, and he fought with a whole crowd of rivals or deceived husbands. And only his glory as a first knight, the glory of a tyrant lion, argued with his glory as lover. John of Bohemia easily embarks on any adventures, chasing crowns like butterflies. At the same time, he needed not so much the land themselves as the income from them in order to continue his careless, riotous, cheery, extravagant life. Considering himself the heir of a Przemysl dynasty, John claimed the title of a Polish king that belonged to them. This can be seen even from his seal, where he is depicted on a horse in full knightly armor. Moreover, the badge of a spear depicts a two-tailed lion. On a horse's blanket, the Lion of Luxembourg, and on the rider's shield, a white Polish eagle. True, Poland had its own king, and the Poles were in no hurry to recognize the illusionary rights of the adventurer. Therefore, John repeatedly fought with Poland along with the Teutonic Order from 1326 to 1332, and even conquered Silesia. And how amazing was his Italian adventure! The trip of a Luxembourgian to Lombardy in 1330 resembled a festive procession, the triumphal procession. He captured Bergamo, Pavia, Cremona, Vercelli, Modena, Reggio, Mantua, and Milan, at the head of a small army of knights in shiny armor. At the same time, for several months, John became the idol throughout the whole Italy. To the German emperor, who began to worry about the fate of his Italian lands, the adventurer king said that he wasn't intended to deprive his of his flourishing lands at all. He allegedly arrived in Italy to stop the feud between the Guelphs and Ghibellines, and stop the endless massacre between them, as well as visit the graves of his parents buried in Pisa. It is not known how everything would have developed further, but the Austrians attacked the Bohemia, and he, leaving his old Charles in Italy, rushed to rescue. Meanwhile, in Italy, a powerful coalition came out against the Luxembourger, which included the troops of Holy Roman Emperor, the kings of Naples, Poland and Hungary, the dukes of Austria, and Margrave of Brandenburg. Charles had to quickly flee from Lombardy. As a result, northern Italy conquered by John was as quickly lost. As a result, he had to compromise with the Hungarian King Charles Robert and the Polish Casimir III. According to the Treaty of Trenčín in 1335, concluded by three kings, John of Bohemia renounced his title of Polish king, but retained Silesia, whose highly developed cities brought him a solid income. Soon after that, a terrible misfortune befell upon him. During one of the torments, he received a serious wound in the head and gradually became blind. According to some sources, completely, according to others, on one eye. But even this grief didn't make him to change. With the help of his faithful pages, he continued to dress with a particular cheek and even learned to fence blindly. And when the 100 Years' War broke out, he expressed an ardent desire to support his friend, the King of France, with his own sword. In the Battle of Crécy, John of Bohemia accomplished his immortal but rather senseless feat. At first he only commanded his troops and the troops of Charles II of Arlington and Louis I, Duke of Flanders. The officers described the course of the battle to him in details, and in the end he could not hold up his horses. Chronicle Jean Froissart described the death of John as follows. For all that he was nigh blind, when he understood the order of a battle, he said to them about him, "Where is the Lord Charles, my son?" His men said, "Sir, we cannot tell, we think he be fighting." When he said, "Sirs, ye are my men, my companions and friends in this journey, I require you bring me so far forward, that I can strike my stroke with my sword." They said they could not do commandment, and to the intent that they should not lose him in the press, they tied all the reins of their bridles, each to other, and set the king before to accomplish his desire. And so they went on their enemies. The Lord Charles of Bohemia, his son, who wrote himself King of Almaine and the bearer of the arms, he came in a good order to the battle. But when he saw that the matter went awry on their party, he departed, I cannot tell to which way. The king his father was so far forward that he struck a stroke with his sword, yea, and more than 4, and fought valiantly, so did his company. And they adventured themselves so forward that they were all slain, and the next day they were found in a place about the king, and all their horses died to each other. He was noticed by the Scots for the brilliance of his brand new armor. They killed his squires and they wounded his horse with a spear. Falling, the horse crushed the leg of its rider. Then they smashed his head, and noticing a large diamond on his finger, they chopped off his finger. Thus was the fate of a Night King, whose feat delighted the Black Prince, who took his helmet, adorned the 3 ostrich feathers and the motto Ich dien, and placed on it his coat of arms. You can find it more in details in my video about Black Prince. Edward III, King of England, sent the remains of John with an honorary guard to his son Charles of Luxembourg. Charles, in accordance with the tradition of the time, ordered to take out his father's heart and boil the body in boiling water in order to separate bones from the decaying flesh. He took these precious bones to his native Luxembourg, where he buried them next to the most valuable relics. Well, that's it for another night story. Hope you like it. Like it if you do, subscribe if you don't want to miss more, and do consider to support me on Patreon, please. Thank you very much. Bye bye.